The Toothpaste Millionaire, Chapter 14. The Trouble with Adults. Rufus did think I was a little out of my mind when I told him I had found him not only a toothpaste machine, but a whole factory and a mechanic to go with it. And he did wonder if we couldn't somehow get to use the machine without hiring Hector as well. I tried to explain that Hector and the machine seemed to belong together and that I didn't think we could get one without the other. As soon as he met Hector, Rufus understood. And as soon as Hector heard the details of Rufus' plan for keeping the price of toothpaste low and profits high at the same time, he thought it was a beautiful idea. "That Happy Lips lotion," Hector said, $1.98 a tube. Nothing in it but a little lanolin and a speck of perfume to make it smell nice. Maybe it made your lips feel nice, but it sure was a high-priced way to feel nice. Hector explained everything about the machine to Rufus. How many tubes it could fill an hour, how many helpers Hector would need to turn out so many tubes. He and Rufus were talking as if it were all settled that Rufus was going to rent the plant. "It would be a shame not to," Rufus said on the way home. "We know we've got a good idea. We've got all those tubes. Now the machine and Hector. All we need is a little money." "Quite a lot, Rufus," I said. "So how much?" Rufus said. "Let's see. 9,000 for Hector, 3,600 for rent, and maybe a little more in case we have to buy some more tubes. I guess we'll need about $15,000. "How are you going to get $15,000? I asked. "Just walk in a bank and ask for it?" "Hey," Rufus said, "why not? Isn't that what other people do?" "A stick-up, you mean?" I said. No, Rufus said. "I mean the other way businessmen do. The big businessmen." What Rufus decided to do was to go to Everybody's Friendly Savings and Loan and borrow some money. Everybody's Friendly Savings and Loan was the sponsor of the Joe Smiley Show. 5 times every night, this friendly vice president, Seymour Perkle, interrupted the show to do a commercial telling how friendly Everybody's Friendly Savings and Loan was about lending everybody money to buy a car or start a business, and how they liked to encourage young businessmen who were starting businesses in the neighborhood, and how they believed in people and how people were their business. The way Mr. Perkle made it sound, Everybody's Friendly Savings and Loan was dying to lend everybody money. So Rufus called up the office and asked for an appointment with Mr. Perkle. When we got to the office, the lady at the front desk didn't want to let us see Mr. Perkle. She said he had an appointment at 4 o'clock. Rufus said, "So do I. My name is Rufus." Mayflower, and Mr. Perkle's 4 o'clock appointment is with me. The lady looked at an appointment calendar on her desk and said, "Oh, you're Mr. Mayflower." I don't think she expected Mr. Mayflower to look so young. She called into Mr. Perkle's office to tell him, "Mr. Perkle, there is a young man here to see you, and there is a young lady with him." I didn't care for the way she said young, as if Rufus and I were about 4 years old. But Rufus walked into Mr. Perkle's office as if he had been borrowing money all his life. Mr. Perkle looked more tired than he did on TV and not as friendly. But he warmed up a little when I told him we saw him every night on the Joe Smiley commercial and that he was very good. "Ah," he said, "and what can I do for you?" "You can lend us some money for a business I'm starting," Rufus said. "Rufus was on the Joe Smiley show a couple of weeks ago," I said, as Mr. Perkle looked as if he needed a little more warming up. "Joe Smiley says that he got a lot of listener response to that show, and Rufus got orders for 689 jars of toothpaste." "Ah," Mr. Perkle said to Rufus, "so that's where I've seen you. You're the boy who makes toothpaste." "Yes," Rufus said. He explained to Mr. Perkle that he now had 7,200 toothpaste tubes, a machine for filling them, and a man who knew how to run the machine, and that all he needed to get into production was about $15,000, which he could easily pay back in a year because within 1 year he could easily be selling 250 million tubes of toothpaste. Rufus had written out on a piece of paper all the facts about the population of the United States and the 1-cent profit. Mr. Perkle went over Rufus's figures carefully. He couldn't find anything wrong with them. "You have a very good idea," Mr. Perkle said, "and you have figured everything out in a very business-like way." "So, can you lend me the money today?" Rufus asked. Mr. Perkle looked unhappy. "I'm afraid I can't lend you the money at all," he said. "How come?" Rufus said. "I thought you lent money to everybody." "Well, not exactly everybody," Mr. Perkle said. Not exactly, it turned out, meant not kids. The trouble with adults is they never believe kids can do something, even when they have good ideas. Mr. Perkle admitted that if a responsible adult with a regular job and no debts came to ask for a loan with the same idea Rufus had, he'd probably get the money. "Hope you understand," Mr. Perkle said. "It's nothing against you personally. It's just that you're young. In your commercial, it says you encourage young businessmen," Rufus said. That stopped Mr. Perkle for a moment. Then he said, "Well, yes, we do, but what business experience have you had?" "Rufus had sold over 1,000 jars of toothpaste in 4 weeks," I said. "Ah," Mr. Perkle said. "And are you Mr. Mayflower's partner in business?" "She is a stockholder," Rufus said, which I thought was a very businesslike way to end the meeting.